Hello gamers from around the world, this is Archimedes, the video game enthusiast from Germany, with another mood-lifting video. What a week we had, my friends. After a long dry streak with new informations, we finally got a megaton of news, at least from Microsoft, and I sure hope Sony will break the silence too very soon. And my next gen excitement is back again and through the roof. But another thing happened that made me personally very happy. My small YouTube channel hit a very amazing milestone with 1000 subscribers. And before we go into today's topic, a good friend of the channel found the right words for all of you who support my work.
You're breathtaking! You're all breathtaking!
Thank you, Keanu, and especially thank you all for the amazing journey and support, and I'll do my best to continue to deliver you quality videos every week. But that's not what you're here for. We had an amazing blowout on information over the last week. Xbox revealed a second console, the Xbox Series S. We got the price and launch date of the Xbox Series X and S. Game Pass got even better since they added EA access to it. We have seen gameplay running on the Series S, the announcement of Xbox All Access, at least in some countries. We had the Ubisoft Forward event and the announcement that Dolby Vision is coming to the Xbox consoles. Now, where to start with all of this? Don't expect a breakdown video for the Series S in this one. There are tons of videos out there covering the Series S, but after this flood of information and confirmation of stuff, it became more obvious than ever that Microsoft is aiming toward a change of the way how the video game industry works. And in this video I want to analyze with you, why is Microsoft changing the way the industry works and how they actually do it? And I want to discuss with you if this is something we gamers benefit from. But before we do all that, I want to ask you for a favor. If you watch this video and think you like what you see, then please consider to support the channel by hitting the like and subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to not miss out on future content. I put a lot of work into these videos and I try to grow my channel beyond the latest milestone of 1000 subs, and this one little click from you helps me more than you think. And if you are an active gamer out on social media, please feel free to share it out. I would greatly appreciate it. But now let's dive into how Microsoft is changing the gaming industry. Okay, to understand where I'm going with the statement Xbox is changing the industry, we have to look at how the video game industry worked basically since it existed. There always were the two worlds in gaming, console gaming and PC gaming. The PC gaming space was always very open and scalable. Games can easily be adjusted in graphical fidelities and frame rates to run on basically a huge variation of hardware. PC gamers also never had to think about backcompat and stuff like that. But there are many reasons why millions of gamers prefer to game on consoles, including myself. The console space, regardless of platform, was always a very restricted place to play games. And that sounds so negative, but a lot of the advantages of console gaming actually come from that fact. Once a console generation was released, games from the previous generation did not run on the new hardware. It's a fresh start, and game developers always know exactly what hardware is in the consoles, and that's why games can be highly optimized for the respective machines. Console gamers also don't have to worry about stuff like driver updates and whatnot, but again, a console is a restricted place to play. Gamers on PlayStation, for instance, cannot play with gamers on Xbox. We cannot play our Xbox games on PlayStation and so on. I think you all know how it works, and whenever a new generation of consoles is released, we have only the option to buy the new console at the price the manufacturer decides, or we won't be able to play new games. Okay, we know how the gaming industry works, but before we talk about the aforementioned megaton of news and how they are related to the gaming industry, we need to go back in time a bit. About 7 years ago, in 2013, the launch of the current generation, the Xbox One, obviously didn't go as Microsoft intended. Under a completely different management, Microsoft focused on TV, media content, and had a, well, poor messaging in respect to what they want to do with the console. Shortly after the console launch, Microsoft decided to put a new guy in charge, and Phil Spencer became head of Xbox. He had to face a tremendous challenge in not only motivating the team in the Xbox division, but to bring back the brand on its course. But most of you are probably familiar with this history lesson. Now, where am I going with this? Microsoft realized they can only do so much to catch up in terms of sales and install base compared to Sony. So Microsoft decided that in the long term, if they can't catch up in the classic video game industry, they are going to change it, of course in their favor. And this strategy unraveled over the last few years. It started with the announcement of backcompat back in 2015, something that is very atypical in the console console business. Not that other consoles didn't have backcompat before. For instance, the launch model of the PS3 had backcompat, but this feature was removed in later iterations of the console. Xbox did it differently than anyone ever before. Not only did they announce that the Xbox now can run titles from the previous console generation, but the games even ran better on the newer hardware, especially when the enhanced model of the Xbox One X was released. But in addition to that, they introduced the new Play Anywhere initiative. Microsoft changed the business model for their first-party games and selected other titles by making them available to be played not just on the Xbox console but also on PC, meaning you only had to buy the game once, for instance on the console, and you would get the PC version as well. And of course this was a completely new source of revenue for Microsoft because they started to sell their games now also on PC. With that they established cross-save and cross-progression in between the console and the PC version of the games. And that's when they took things to another level. They started a public conversation about crossplay in between console ecosystems, meaning they publicly spoke out about wanting players on Xbox to be able to play with or against gamers on PlayStation, and therefore removing the barrier that gamers have to own the same platform in order to play together. And with that they were removing one of the biggest selling points for a console, and I mean of course the argument I buy for instance a PlayStation cause my buddy has also one. And I know we had the discussion in the PS3 era as well, but not to this extent. After some weird arguments from Sony like we don't allow it cause we want to protect the kids, they finally gave in, and today we have at least some titles with crossplay. Now we go back to the year 2017 where Microsoft introduced one of the biggest game changers in my opinion, and that is Game Pass. With the introduction of this subscription service they kicked off a small revolution in the gaming industry, cause now they removed the barrier for gamers to actually buy games in order to play them. Yes, there were other subscription services before that, PS Now and especially EA Access, but with Game Pass they took it to another level. For a small fee of €10 or dollars you are able to play more than 100 games, and shortly after they launched the service they announced that all of their first party games will come into Game Pass at release of the respective game. With that Microsoft established basically a Netflix in gaming, and as of the recording of this video, Game Pass includes more than 250 games for subscribers ready to be played. And one last thing before we finally come to the latest news and their influence on the gaming industry. In 2019 Microsoft launched the beta for their cloud-based gaming service xCloud. What they did is they installed basically Xbox Ones into the Azure data centers, allowing gamers to play Xbox games on their phone via streaming. The games are not computed locally on a device anymore but in the cloud, meaning you can basically play your games on any device with a display, your phone, your TV, your PC, your refrigerator, you name it. This service is not a substitute to actual hardware in your home, it is an additional option for you to play your Xbox games wherever you are. Okay, so we have seen a lot of things over the current generation from Microsoft, where they changed the classic restricted console gaming space, making it more open and providing more options to play your games. Now last week with the announcement of the Series S, and I know it was not really a secret, even I talked about it on my channel, but with this confirmation and other news we got to see the full plan from Microsoft unravel. In case you missed it, Microsoft announced a second Xbox to launch on November 10th, the Xbox Series S, a smaller console at a fantastic price point of $299. It can do basically everything the bigger brother can do. It has the same SSD for shorter load times, and with that the same I/O for new game designs. Basically it has the same CPU, so game designs won't be held back, but it has a smaller GPU, meaning especially resolution is scaled down on this machine from 4K to targeted 1440p. Okay, why is this such a game changer? Well, for the very first time a console is not a single device at launch anymore. Microsoft provides again options to gamers. Will you buy the powerhouse console, the Xbox Series X at $499, which is also by the way an incredible value for the price point, or will you decide to buy the Series S in case you don't game on a 4K TV or don't care that much about resolution? Of course there are also a ton of gamers in the casual market that just don't play as much, and for them it's also a great entry point into next gen gaming. Adding up on that, if you don't want or simply you cannot buy the console right out of the gate, you can also opt in with the All Access program, where you can get either console at a price point of $25 or $35 per month, including the Game Pass subscription. So this move just builds upon the other things that Microsoft has already announced and introduced for the future of Xbox gaming, like the full compatibility of the new generation, meaning not only will all games that run today on the Xbox One work on the new system, no, Nintendo. Also, all your accessories will work, meaning you don't have to buy a second controller at launch, cause for the typical guest controller, all your current Xbox One controllers will work, and games will look and run better without the developers doing anything. Adding up on that, you don't have to buy a bunch of games at 60 or 70 bucks along with the console in order to have anything to play on the new system. You have tons of games, new and old ones, available through Game Pass. Cause let's face it, in the past when the console launched, for instance at 400 bucks, you also had to spend money on new games and accessories. So the real price was always higher than the actual retail price of a console. Okay, so the big change that Microsoft has introduced into the gaming industry are options, especially in the console space, and removing most of the classic restrictions a console has, giving players more or less all the options in their hands how they want to approach gaming. How much do you want to spend for a next-gen gaming system? Will you buy games or play them via a subscription service? Do you want to play older games, aka your backlog, or new games? You don't want to play on a console? Simply play the games on your PC. You are traveling and want to play mobile? Play your game library on the go via xCloud. You don't have enough money for new controllers and headsets? Use your old ones. And with all that, they changed basically how gamers are judging everything now in the gaming industry. And I mean the question, is an announcement XYZ pro-consumer? That's the new metric how non-fanboys at least are now judging the gaming industry. And to come to my conclusion, this is what I always said is what a healthy competition in between the platform holders can achieve. This pushes the industry forward, and it's going to be very interesting how the other players in gaming will adjust to this new video game industry introduced by Microsoft. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Sony has to adjust necessarily, cause I want them to continue to do well what they do best, and that is putting out high quality first party single player experiences. But it is great that Sony gets more serious competition with a strong Xbox, cause it can only mean that they will push also for more innovations. And it'll be interesting to see how the gaming industry will look like across Sony, Nintendo and Microsoft in 5 years or so, and what of the new business approaches from Microsoft the other players will adopt to. And with that, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did so, please do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button as well as the notification bell, and consider sharing this out to other gamers. I would greatly appreciate it. And let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Are the changes introduced by Microsoft a good thing for the gaming industry? How do you think Sony and Nintendo will adapt to this? And besides here on YouTube, you can also hit me up on Twitter, where I share a lot of opinions and gaming discussions. But for now, thank you very much for watching, I see you the next time, and game on!